Guys, we are live back at the Conquerors crew. I have an absolute wonderful guest with me here today, Tony Stewart. And always before I introduce the guest, I just lay the groundwork out a little bit and remind people that if this is their first time to the show or they're not familiar with it, that we just have a few principles, a few guidelines, a few things that we go by, right? And one of those that's very important to us is hope. And for us, hope stands for helping other people excel. And there's this crazy weird law in the universe. I didn't make it up. I just know this. It's like even if you don't have any hope, even if you don't have any love to give or anything, if you can muster a little bit up and you can give it away, it comes back to you that much faster, right? And it's just one of those things. It's one of those things that I've discovered through my cancer journey. And then we have grit, okay? And grit, we have a little bit of a acrostic, if you will, for that. And that the G is for grace, the R is for resilience, the I is for integrity, and the T is for being teachable. And for me, the grace, okay, kind of goes a little bit with the integrity. And the reason is it's very easy. It's very easy to give other people grace, I think. And it's very easy to have integrity with others, like, hey, are you, catch somebody else, right? But hey, if you're that type of personality, it's hard to have grace with yourself, right? Give yourself a break. Give yourself a break. But then, hey, the integrity part at 3 a.m, and you're looking in the mirror and you're wondering, are you honest with yourself? Are you really? Are you really, right? Resiliency. Okay, I know I'm skipped around a little bit, but resiliency, a lot of people think that, oh, you're born with it or you're not. No, you know what? It's just like training a muscle, right? And you little by little and step by step, and everybody has it in them. And I promise you, you have resiliency and you can rise to the occasion when you need to. And the teachable part, well, you get too cocky, you get knocked off your high horse, right? And so we have grit, we have hope, grit, and just don't quit. And that pretty much just says it for itself. So this is a safe place. This is a place of kindness and politeness. And we accept anyone's political views or religious views or any views on anything. We're not here to convince you of anything. We're not here to try to make you believe anything. We want you to take what is good for you from this and use what you can. And so I have Tony Stewart here. Tony is a recognized award-winning author, okay? And he has a book that's related to cancer. And Tony, let me introduce you. Thank you for letting me have my little intro and land.
Well, you're certainly welcome.
How are you today, man? How are things going? Yeah, tell us a little bit about that.
I've been having a pretty good day. Things are going fine. I'm here in New York City, where the weather has we've had some major snowstorms. We had the blizzard that came across the Atlantic and mid-Atlantic states last week. More snow than I've seen in 10 years, and it made me feel great because I'm basically retired now, and didn't have to worry about getting anywhere, and I could enjoy it like when I was a kid.
Wow,
I miss that stuff.
that's neat, man. That's neat. So, are you a New Yorker? Have you always kind of been a New Yorker?
Yeah. I was one of the few people I know who was born here in Manhattan, lived my whole life here. I mean, I went away to college. I have lived abroad a little bit, but the majority of my life, my permanent address, my voting address has been New York City, the heart of New York City.
Holy cow, man. So you've seen this thing, and I just a place, guys, I mean, look at this guy. I mean, he's 70 years old. Look how good he looks, man. You look awesome, man. Really,
well,
you look really good, man. And so 70 years in New York, I cannot imagine the changes that you've seen and been through and all that. Do you care to share just a little bit about kind of that?
Well, it's funny, you live here. So I lived through the period in the 70s when large parts of New York were being burned down by landlords who were going bust, and they wanted the insurance money.
Wow.
I should say large parts of New York. New York's a big place. It never happened quite where I was. But I remember in the 80s, or maybe it was the 90s with the crack epidemic. Every now and then I heard gunshots not that far from here. And certainly I saw all the crack vials in the street, and I saw all the dealers hanging out in some of the doorways. It's funny. It's in tiny mini neighborhoods, 1 or 2 blocks east of where I am. I mean, that is like a 5-minute walk, right?
Yeah,
What was an area that was full of dealers, and that's where the gunshots were. And on my block, nothing like that happened. And it's as if we were in 2 different towns.
Wow.
But the funny thing is, all of you guys, I mean, you're younger than I am. I don't know how much you were even around back
I'm
in the
50,
years.
yeah.
But people from elsewhere in the country, you see the news reports, you hear about this stuff. It's all true, and must have wondered, how the hell could you live there? And yet, I didn't feel nervous or unsafe. It just became routine to like look over my shoulder before walking in the vestibule of my building. You don't want someone following you in, but that never happened to me. Did happen to some people. And I had a very vibrant life here. I was married. We were having a good time. I had a series of interesting jobs. I got to do stuff here. I got to travel, got to go to a lot of theater and things that New York has.
Cool.
And this is the world I lived in. So what's interesting now is the city is like a whole lot cleaner than it was then, a whole lot safer than it was then. But I don't feel a whole lot different about living here. It's just people coming in who from outside as visitors and tourists would say, yeah, now I want to go there, or I want to visit there. Very few people, you got to want to live amidst a lot of people in order to live in New York. But I will say, I don't live in the area that you mostly see in TV shows and stuff. I don't live in the business district. I live in a residential area. Yeah, I'm in a big apartment building. It's 15 floors. There's 75 apartments in this building. But down this block from me are, 2 and 3 and 4 family old homes. And it's a very pleasant place. I got a view of the Hudson River out my window. It's not immediately out my window. You have to be rich to get that, but it's a block away. I'm looking over some lower buildings, and I see the Hudson River, and I get a lot of light and air. So I could come home and not feel like I'm in the middle of all that stuff. I can chill out here and have, I see the sky. I see birds flying by.
That's awesome, man. That's awesome, man. I visited New York City, I think 3 times. I've been to New York. Loved it. Wonderful. I got to do the touristy stuff, right? And do that.
Sure.
But God, man, I mean, the city that never sleeps, man. I mean, when I was done, man, I get on the plane, I would come home and crash for 2 or 3 days because I was getting it all in, right? I'm doing everything during the day. I'm going out with my friends at night. We're staying out late. We're getting up early. And so, I don't think, the people that live there, they do that all the time. But goodness gracious, man, it is always awake there. It really is. It's super cool.
I mean, I'm a little old to be doing the all night stuff, but if I'm hungry, if for some reason I don't have dinner at a reasonable time, and maybe I went with friends, maybe I went to a play or something, I don't know. You want to have dinner at 11 o'clock at night, you can have dinner at 11 o'clock at night.
Yeah.
And then I'm always a little surprised when I travel, not just to the country, but, countryside, but to other cities. Yeah. And it's like, you better get your dinner in by 9 o'clock because the kitchens are all going to close.
That's it, man. And maybe you can order a Domino's, and maybe that's it, right? I mean,
right, exactly.
Yeah, I lived in Madrid for a year, and goodness gracious, man, like Sundays, it was like, my gosh, like if you didn't want a kebab, you weren't going to eat some, like it wasn't that bad, but gosh, it was really, and there were some things, that were shut down, and you better, fit in with the culture, right? Fit in
with the culture.
Yeah.
I'm glad that the 3 times you came to New York, you really took advantage of being here.
Man, I did. And I loved it, man. I loved it. I had such a blast there. I don't know if I could live there. I think it'd eat me up. I think it would.
Yeah, no, I understand that. And
Yeah.
obviously you wouldn't live like you did as a tourist.
Right.
Um,
Yeah.
but people who live in smaller places do so often for a reason. Besides the fact that it's freakishly expensive here now,
Oh
there's
man.
also like there's a level of hubbub and energy that's happening all the time, and you either
Yeah.
like that or you want to get away from it. And
Yeah.
that's both are perfectly reasonable responses.
Yeah. Yeah. I can get caught up in it, and it's a lot of fun. It's a lot of
Mhm.
fun. So, well, cool, man. That's awesome. Well, you've recently written a book, and
Yep.
we want to talk about that. That's really the feature of the Conquerors crew today. And if you don't mind, I'm just gonna kind of do a little intro to the book that I
Sure.
have prepared. Yeah. So Tony is a certified educator, a grief educator, and he's the author of the award winning memoir called Carrying the Tiger: Living with Cancer, Dying with Grace, Finding Joy While Grieving. Man, there's a lot in that title, right?
Yes.
So, this isn't just a cancer story, it's a real honest look at what it means to love someone through a terminal illness, to face the fear and uncertainty head on, and to keep living while everything changes. We're going to talk about the caregiving and the grief and the moments that matter the most, and how to be in joy and in grief, and they coexist at the same time, man. Hey, thank you for being here today, man. I feel like I'm talking to a wise man today, sir. And I'm
We'll
honored.
see
I'm
about
honored to have you here. I'm honored to have you here. So yeah.
Thank you. But we'll see. Uh, I think I learned a lot from the experience, and I wanted to share, what it was like. As to whether that's wisdom or not, I'll let the listeners decide for themselves. Not everyone thinks the same stuff is wise.
Yep. Yep. I'm with you. I'm with you. That's such a humble way to approach it. And that's kind of what we do with the Conquerors crew. We have all sorts of people on. I mean, I've had, doctors and most people that have had some sort of a physical kind of issue that they've dealt with, me, cancer 3 times. And that's what the kind of the crew is about, is conquering something. And
Yeah.
we had doctors on, and drug addicts, or nurses, or motivational speakers, and people like yourself, writers. And we just ask that we're trying to get to, we want to hear the story, want to know about the story, and share us a few tips and tools along the
Hmm.
way. And I know that as we talk today that you're going to do that, because we want to give something to the listeners that when they quit listening, they have something to apply. And this subject is near and dear to my heart, man.
Right.
So,
Yeah.
um,
And to mine.
yes. Oh, so much. Is there anything you want to do to kind of open up the book, or to say anything to kind of intro it? And then I've got some questions that I like to ask you, but please, go. The floor is yours, sir.
Well, I would just set the scene. Um, the book is a straight up memoir, which I wrote so that you are looking over my shoulder while all of these things happen. There are lots of different kinds of memoirs. Some of them people try to draw conclusions and teach lessons. And this is more like living the movie with me. And I tell you what this felt like. And you get to see the decisions that we made, and you get to see how they played out.
Yeah.
What happened was, so I had been married. My wife and Lynn and I had been married for about 30 years, at the point when we discovered that these weird things that had been happening in her body that no one could understand, they were kept scanning her in the wrong places and not finding anything, were actually stage 4 metastasized non-smokers lung cancer. And I say non-smokers just because there's a horrible pattern in our society for people to blame you. The minute you say lung cancer, people tend to think, oh, she brought it on herself.
Yeah.
And I just want to say, no, there's a lot of non-smokers lung cancer out there, just like all the other kinds of cancer, and it's just bad luck. Or in her case, possibly she was a painter, so that meant oil paints in her studio for 30 years. That was her passion, was making paintings. And
Wow.
so for many, many years before we became more aware of like what breathing turpentine might do to you, she
Mm,
was in an environment where she was breathing fumes. I mean, the windows were open and it wasn't like you were told to wear a ventilator or a respirator, but it is conceivable
right.
that the exposure from being a painter all those years slowly triggered a little mutation in her lung, which gave her the
Right.
cancer.
Right.
That's an aside.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
the story starts on the day that we learned. Um, Sorry, I just received. Francie said, "You have an echo." My sister, who is listening to this, says that she's hearing an echo. I'm
Huh.
not hearing an echo. This is a text from my sister listening to us talk. And
Uh,
I don't know what
is
the
it?
hell.
You know what? I'm looking at. The people that are on. I think that was the earlier one.
Ah, yeah.
Yep. Yep. Because I'm not seeing anybody else listening. So you know what? Maybe we need to blame that on Francine. Maybe it was her fault.
Maybe it was her fault that she rushed home to hear it. Um,
Oh,
anyway, uh,
all jokes. I'm totally
oh
just
no, absolutely. And I love her and I'm going to blame her.
no,
Um,
not at all.
so the book starts on the day we discover that Lynn had tumors in her back and in her lungs and in her spine.
Man, that's a lot.
And you follow along while we deal with that, the shock, the stunned quality, but then the frantic scramble. When you first discover that there's one of you has cancer, as you have in your life,
Right.
the first time I assume was the worst, but I don't know. There's issues about having come back that must have been pretty horrible too. In our case, this just came out of nowhere. And so, she gets this call on a Sunday from our GP saying, "I'm looking at these scan results and you need to see an oncologist right away." And we start on Monday morning trying to line up an appointment. And
Yeah.
like, okay, that takes 2 days. At that point, 2 days feels like agony.
Yeah,
And then
man.
there's this whole process that plays out of getting the biopsy and doing the testing and then getting the formal diagnosis and then figuring out what we're going to do about it and what doctor do we want to see and do we eventually we consulted a second opinion, we got into a clinical trial. There's a whole lot of stuff
Oh
in the
man.
first part of the story, and it's
Right.
all like being tossed into this whirlwind where your whole life is just blown away
Yep.
and you have to find your way forward. And then eventually we did, settled on a treatment plan. And then comes the emotional. And then when that settled down, we start to discover how this is affecting us as people, as emotions. So the whole first part of the book is called Living with Cancer and is about what it felt like to us. And there are various twists and turns. There are some pretty, I'll call them cool procedures. Some are cool and some almost killed her in terms of the operations that she had to have because of the stuff being in her spine, especially, and
Man.
things that happened to her spine.
Right.
Um, but we had very good luck, and in the sense that usually people with her diagnosis are gone within 1 to 2 years, sometimes
Mhm.
only 6 months.
Okay.
And we had extremely good luck in that we got Lynn into a trial, a clinical trial. One of the advantages of being in New York City is that you got like a wealth of these amazing world-class hospitals that are doing things like having clinical trials. You live
Yeah.
elsewhere, sometimes you have to drive hours or fly to get to
Yeah.
somewhere where they're testing new drugs. Here, we ended up doing it right here, a subway ride away. And
Wow.
this miracle drug held down Lynn's tumors for like 5 years. And so instead of dying very quickly, we actually had a life for 5 years that we didn't really expect to have. So we're living the whole time with sort of, this, it never went away. The cancer, the tumors were always visible on her scans, and her doctors, bless their hearts, said again and again, the name of the game is to find ways to live as well as you can while you can, because one of these days it's going to beat the drugs. We have not cured you. You are not in remission.
Right.
We're holding it down and it's trying desperately to mutate and grow again.
Right.
So that was the 5 years of living with cancer that had
Wow.
not gone away.
Yeah.
And there were ups and downs and some very happy times.
Yeah.
There were several good years there where we could almost forget it.
Yeah.
but you never really can.
Right. Oh yeah. Yeah. It's like
Yeah.
it's always a little bit of a cloud, kind of feel like
Right.
it's kind of over you.
Yeah.
And you
And
can
in
forget
this
about
case,
it.
it's still there. Every 3 months she goes for a scan and there are the tumors and we're
Oh,
watching them, we're just looking at them,
oh
knowing that
man.
one of these days we're going for the
Scanxiety, you know about that she had.
scanxiety. I have a
Oh.
whole chapter called scanxiety for people who haven't get the term,
Perfect. Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
about the anxiety of learning to live with these scans.
Yeah,
And we
man.
actually, you start getting these medical scans. In did this happen to you? With us, we learned so much terminology. We learned how to read these reports. It's only good for her kind of cancer. It won't. I can't read someone else's reports about a different kind of cancer or talk
Right.
about the treatments. But we
Right.
learned so much during those years because
Oh
you don't
yeah.
want to wait for the doctor to have the next conversation. We were reading these reports whenever they showed up.
Yeah, and a
Yeah.
lot of people, they don't even get the reports. They don't even ask for them. They don't even they like I can't read an X-ray, okay?
Right.
But I can read the synopsis of the X-ray.
Exactly. That's the report, the written thing that describes what they
Exactly,
saw.
right? And we can understand the English enough, and if we don't understand the term, the medical term, we look it up and we figure out this is what this means in layman's terms and what it means to me. And we can definitely say like, oh, well, I understand 2.5 inches and 4 inches, and like you
Yeah.
can size that up and you can take that report and put it to the next report and go, oh, well, it's a little better than it was, or oh, it seems to be a little worse, right? Or it's
Worse.
bigger, right?
Exactly.
Yeah,
Exactly.
and I encourage people to do that as a patient advocate, to do that. So
Oh, it's huge. I mean, what
you
we
have
did
to
was
do it, I think.
we took those we would
You
take
know,
those reports and we would sit with the doctor the next time because typically the way it once you get into the long-term stuff where
right?
we're not chasing an immediate emergency and seeing the doctors every week or every few days,
Yeah,
you get into the long-term stuff, the idea was they do a scan and then the next week you have an appointment and you'd get to sit with the doctor and talk about the results of the scan. But we would be able to download the scan off of the portal at the hospital before then, and we could read it and get scared or whatever. In the early days, the terminology scared the hell out of us.
oh yeah, yep,
And then they'd be saying it got a little bigger. And eventually we had enough conversations where the doctor would say things like, yeah, it got like 5% bigger, but guess what? That's meaningless. You have a fairly small tumor. And in 3 months, it may have gotten five. If the drug keeps holding it down, it'll keep growing and shrinking and growing and shrinking. And we can just ignore that. And eventually we learned how to read those words and ignore that.
man. That is such good advice, Tony. It really is, man. Yeah, I love it. Thank you, sir. Yeah,
But I'll throw one other piece of I don't want
yeah,
to call this advice because it won't work for everyone.
yeah.
But the
That's okay.
whole reason that Carrying the Tiger exists as a book is
Hmm.
because the minute or within a few days of Lynn's discovering that this was happening to her, she was trying to, she wanted to be open with her friends. And that's a personality thing. Not everyone is.
Right.
And the emails, she had a lot of friends. The emails were killing us. Everyone wants to know, how did the last doctor appointment go? What are you going to do next? Things like that. And so someone turned us on to a nonprofit website called caringbridge.org,
Okay.
where you, as someone who needs care of any kind, can set up a website like a stripped down Facebook thing. I mean, it's social media, very simple.
Okay.
And you can post and you can limit it to your friends. So we had no desire to be out there posting on Facebook per se. We
Right.
we could limit it to our friends, invite them to log in, and then we could write like, we went to the doctor today and here's where we stand. And here's what we plan to do in the next week. That kind of thing. We started doing that 5 days in to this journey that ended up taking years. And just by coincidence or just personality, Lynn asked me to do the writing. I was
Okay.
comfortable. We're both fairly comfortable writing, but she's living with this, the tension of this and the fear. And she
Right.
asked me to do the writing. So I, who have never journaled in my life,
Wow.
started journaling our whole experience.
Okay.
And in the long run, I got 7 years of these things that when printed out came to 700 pages. And
Wow.
that's what I started from when I was turning all of this into a book. And
Wow.
it's an amazing record. But in the short run,
Yeah.
being open like that with our friends brought so many benefits,
Okay.
that I never anticipated.
Okay.
So as things got hard, we'd get kind of those responses like you might on a Facebook post or an Instagram post, I'm with you, or you go, or that sounds really hard. You get 5, 10, 15 of those.
Yeah.
It makes you feel great. It's like you have your crew supporting you.
Yeah.
We would put a post up, and then in those days, Caring Bridge didn't auto refresh. So the responses, we had to hit the refresh button on the browser.
Yeah.
We would put a post up. Caring Bridge would send out a little push notification to all of our friends. Hey, there's a new post from Tony and Lynn. And then after about 5 minutes, we would sit there because Lynn needed this so much, and we would keep refreshing the screen.
Yeah.
And over the next hour, all these lovely supportive comments would come in. And we weren't flooded with emails. We could deal with this. We were giving everyone the same information. And then over time, they weren't only just like little gestures of support, even though that itself would have been fantastic, fantastic.
Right.
But like when we were facing a particular kind of procedure or choices that we were making, people started writing us saying, I went through this myself, or I went through this with my father, and here's what happened to us.
Wow.
And we were getting all of this information that we never knew in talking to our friends, but because we were putting ourselves out there and saying what was going on, we got so much valuable information. We were getting emotional support, and we were getting information back.
Yeah.
Now, not everyone hearing this story who faces cancer or something like it is going to feel comfortable setting up a Caring Bridge post.
Right.
But the essence of it was that by being open with our friends, we got it back in spades, 1,000 times over. And I feel sad for people who are embarrassed or private or don't want to burden their friends, because it's very common. In this society, we don't know what to do when a friend of ours says they have cancer.
Yeah.
Or when a friend of ours is grieving. It's very common, and we don't talk to them because we're afraid of burdening them. We're afraid of making it worse for them, stuff like that. But if they invite us, if they say, this is what's going on with me, then you get into a dialogue, and then you each learn something, and you have these connections. This went on for years. It was so wonderful.
Man, that's so good. That's such great advice, man. Thank you so much. I've never had anybody on our podcast, and I've been doing this almost a year to have a suggestion like that. Thank you, man. I think that's so valuable. That, and for me, especially men, they carry it. Men are wolves, right? They're loners. Yeah. They're going to carry it all alone, and this is something you don't have to carry alone.
Yeah,
you don't. And thank you for sharing that. And and it's kind of vulnerable, right? It's a vulnerable thing to do that and share that, isn't it? And
yes,
yeah.
I started out the first month to 6 months, whatever, the first part of our journey, the original posts were not that emotionally vulnerable. I'm a guy, and I thought I was sharing this. I thought the story itself was like a roller coaster. There's all these twists and turns in the first part of what happened to us. People tell me reading the book is like a thriller, that part of the book, because it's like, I can't believe this happened. And then, oh my God, what are you going to do next? And how are you going to deal with that? So these were the posts I was writing.
Okay.
Later, when I went back and turned it into a book, I added all kinds of stuff in between about what we were feeling.
Right.
But over time, there's only so much. I mean, I don't know quite how that magic occurred, where over time I started being more open about our feelings. Like when there wasn't anything new to say, but I wanted to write a post, like, nothing's changed, but I wanted to write a post because we loved getting things back and we loved keeping the connection open.
Yeah.
I started writing about, I remember one in particular, like it's starting to feel like a slog. It's like we're walking through mud. Yep. It's so hard. Is anything good going to happen? Will this ever change? We go day by day. Lynn's having all this pain. The drugs aren't making it better. She doesn't want to leave the house. this is there was a really hard time. And I'd already told everyone that. And now a few days have passed and it still feels that way. So I wrote a post that was all about how depressed it made us.
Yep.
And I was scared to publish it.
Right.
I mean, I wrote the thing and I hovered over the button because I had never shared anything like that with our
Yes.
friends. And I
Yes.
published it. And we got such wonderful responses back.
Man.
Thank you for sharing what's really going on.
Oh, yeah.
Cancer isn't only the good news.
Yeah.
And that was early on. That was within the first year. And that kind of positive feedback caused me to open up more and more. And that's how you get to the whole second half of the book. Lynn died. She
Yeah.
did eventually die, just 5 or 6 years later than we originally thought.
Yeah.
And then we get to the grief and all, and I'm the only one writing it. And I'm writing, I kept going. I kept writing about my feelings.
Yeah.
My God, and this is a really rare thing. There are very few books out there written originally in real time from journals about what it's like to go through the deep grief that follows that kind of loss.
Right, man. Yeah.
And it's all because I had gotten addicted to writing the Caring Bridge posts, and I had gotten addicted to sharing what I was feeling because I kept getting these positive responses back.
Yeah.
This is a set of just luck. Or if you believe in God, you could say God did it or whatever. But this was, I didn't set out on that knowing that I would be on that particular path.
Right.
But that's what happened.
Yeah.
And it turns out that people tell me that reading, people who are going through grief, or people who have friends who are supporting someone going through grief or loss, or wondering what it will feel like when and if it happens to them, tell me that reading that part of the book is transformative.
Right.
They've never so specific. I mean, I tell you, like, this is what happened today, and this is what I was able to do and what I wasn't able to do. And I'm a pretty good writer, so it isn't all just like boring.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I can tell. I mean, just by talking to you, you're very articulate. And so I know that transfers into how you write. I mean, I know that it's, I know that it's quality. I did not have the time to get into it over the last few days, and I wanted to, man. And I read the synopsis and it, so, but God, it sounds like something that is so needed. I got my, you got the cat. I got the dog.
Yep. For those who were on when we first started this conversation and had all these technical difficulties, I had my cat all over me.
It's all good, man. Hey, it is all good. I think we need pets.
I do too.
I think we need them. I think they're a part of your life. And you know what? They can be such a part of that journey and that healing and all that as well. It's quite amazing to me what our little Zadie has done for me over the last 3 years, because I've been with my parents. I had to come back from New Zealand, for my stuff about 5 years ago. And so we got Zadie about 3 years ago, and it's just been, man, transforming to have that little poochy little fuzzball around the house that's full of joy and happiness and love, man. And it just sounds so simple, but it's so true that every single time you come home, they're just crazy to see you, man.
Yeah.
And it just fills your heart with joy, man. And all they really want to do is they need to be fed, they need to be watered, and you know what? They want to be loved.
They want to be loved. And people don't realize that, people who don't have cats don't realize that a lot of cats are very much that way too. They want love.
Yeah.
I mean, what you're saying about what you have gone through and the support you got from your little dog, I write about in the book about what the cats meant to Lynn. Oh, it's huge.
Yeah.
Absolutely huge. There were times when having a little cat, we had a little cat who loved Lynn, and it just heartbreaking, when Lynn died, actually, that cat went through grief and acted out around the house. But
really?
That cat, Lily, and actually it's the same cat who was on my lap here before.
Oh, okay.
5 years older. That
Yeah.
cat, there's even a photo in the book of Lynn a few weeks before she died, lying on her back in the bed with Lily asleep on her chest.
Wow.
And that, that was better than the drugs, man. That was such a warm, comfort, loving feeling.
Do you think?
After, go ahead.
Do you think? Do you think? Do you think that they know?
They know something, that's for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. I do too.
I do think I don't know
Yeah.
if they knew. I mean, they can sense that something's wrong. They can
Yep.
sense that Lynn was dying, even if they don't, quote, understand death, know that it's coming. And then you better believe that once she died, we had 2 cats.
Okay.
One of them curled up on the pillow where she had her head. She died at home in home hospice,
Okay.
which was
Okay.
a beautiful experience. And that's the middle chapter of the book.
Okay.
Dying with Grace was how we found our way to a really beautiful death. I mean,
Right.
it's the most wonderful 2 weeks of my life. But anyway, so she
Right.
had been on that bed, on that pillow for the whole 2 weeks, and I did not do the laundry at that point. And she died, and they took her out, and our big cat, no, yeah, it was the big cat went and curled up on the pillow, and the little cat curled up in the wheelchair where Lynn had sat. And they
Oh,
both more or less stayed there for the next 2 days,
wow. Wow.
just where they could smell her.
Right. Man. Yeah.
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 Oh, no, absolutely. We formed these bonds. Those 2
Yeah.
cats then got me through the next months of my life
Yeah.
hugely,
Yeah.
hugely. To come home not to an empty house, but to come home to 2 cats who need something from me. Because when you
Right.
go plummeting off the other end of this, I mean, we can talk more about the caregiving side and the cancer side, but
Sure. Sure.
I can tell you that when you go plummeting into deep grief, at least most of us in our different ways, everyone's grief is different.
Right.
There's no one size fits all. So I just want to say that I'm really talking about my grief, but I
Yep.
know that many aspects of this are extremely common. You
Yep.
plummet into deep grief, and for months, it's really hard to focus. It's really hard to get anything done.
Yep.
Your life is turned upside down. Your head is upside down. You're crying all the time. There's all the what ifs and the guilt. If there's any room for you to feel guilt, you will find a way to feel guilt,
Oh
even if it
yeah.
doesn't make any sense.
Oh yeah.
All this stuff. What could I have done differently, etc.
Yep.
They're completely taking you over. All this kind of
Yes.
stuff,
Yep. Yep.
and it's really nice. It was really nice for me to have these cats who needed things from me, because at
Mm.
least I had to come out of my fog and out of my grief for those moments and take care of the cats. And they rewarded me. They rewarded me with their fur and their petting, me petting them and their
Yeah.
nuzzling me and all that stuff.
Yeah, man. That's beautiful, man. That really is. I mean, it just kind of.
Uh-oh, I can't hear you. On my side, your image froze, your sound froze.
Okay, I'm sorry. I own my own business in New Zealand, and my team would call me and say, "Trent, you got to come to work. We need you. We got to solve this problem." And I'd be so mad because I'd be laying in the bed, feeling horrible and feeling terrible, and I just want to pull the covers over my head. But you know what? It gave me a reason. It gave me a purpose, and I had to get my butt up and I put my clothes on. I had to go out to work and get in some sunshine and to talk to some people, and I needed some interaction and get around all that. And I had to I would even lose my mind in the fact that I have work to do. I have problems to solve. I have to make money because I have people that have families and I've committed to that, and it was good for me. That was my thing, right? That was my thing that got me. And you know what? You kind of have to even just put yourself in those situations to do that, because if you don't, man, you'll just curl up.
Yeah.
And you'll just you'll just kind of it just gets worse and worse and worse and worse is the way I feel,
Now, I mean, so there's 2 different sides to my story, at least. The one was the caregiving, and it was Lynn, of course, living with the cancer. And I absolutely had a goal every day to do what was necessary for her. And in fact,
Love it.
that first year, I threw myself so thoroughly into it that I ended up exhausted. I had a series of physical accidents. I had a small breakdown. I'm calling it a breakdown. I mean, sobbing. It wasn't a breakdown like that lasted days and days, but
Right,
I
right.
sobbing and telling her I can't keep going on like this, and revealing to her the kind of difficult thoughts that I'd been holding into myself for the whole year, because I didn't want to burden her
Right,
with like how hard this was for me. And it turned
right.
out that you
Yes.
can't do that. But her disease and the need to find a way forward, and the constant number of things that needed to be solved, and the number of ways she needed support, kept me going and gave me a purpose for years.
Yeah,
And that
yeah.
was huge. I do want to say that, like, okay, so she died. I still had a job at the time, although I quit. I was 65 and I quit much earlier than I had expected to. Within months after she died, I just couldn't do it anymore, which is a choice not all of us can make. I
Yep.
had my savings. I could couple Social Security. If I had been 45 and she died, I would not have had that option, and I would have
Right.
had to keep going into work.
Yep.
But so I was in a position where I could have curled up into a ball, like you said. I didn't have to go to work. All I had to do was feed the cats, clean the litter. I'm done. And yeah, I would say that most of us, that most people will start to uncurl from that ball and not stay in it.
Yeah.
It's just maybe a lot slower than they hope.
Sure.
And so the image of curling up into a ball and never coming out of it, I don't actually think that happens to most people, because we want to do stuff, and we want to get back into some form of life,
Right.
but it may be months, and for some people it may be years. And I just really, one of the big messages in the world that I want to put out there, and virtually any grief educator will want to put this out there, is don't apply your ideal timetable to someone else who is grieving. They will do this on their timetable.
Right.
And some people are able to get back and actually come out of it and be able to function in a matter of months. And some people, it's like, no, that's too soon. And everyone will deeply
Yeah.
grieve for a lot longer than a few months. I'm talking about being able to function while grieving. And some people can't even get there that quickly. But if you let yourself go through this horrible grieving process, which is also kind of beautiful because you're crying for the person you lost, which is a wonderful thing, and feeling in touch, and all those tears achieve a purpose. If you let
Yeah.
yourself go through that, you will eventually come out of that fetal position and start to function again. You're not the same person you were before. Your whole world has changed.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Do you see the value of life differently than you did maybe before? I mean, that was a big
Oh my
transition.
God, yes. And I'm curious
Yeah.
whether you did too, because for us, it started the day
Oh,
of the diagnosis. Suddenly, it's like, I don't know how much more time I have in this world. So suddenly, the smelling the flowers, taking a walk, just these
yeah.
simple things take on a value that you
Yeah.
took for granted before.
That's right, man. Yeah.
I mean, this
Yeah.
is
That's
huge.
exactly right. Yeah.
I've
Yeah.
actually recently been taking a mindfulness course and learning how to do mindful meditation and stuff. And the whole point of it is to live in the is to, at least at those moments, not 24 hours a day, live in the present and be in touch with what's going on. And among other things, be in touch with the miracle that what is this life we have? What is it? This ability to be alive
Right.
with all these things around us that we get to interact with. This is a miracle, whether you believe it came from science or God or whatever you believe, it is a friggin' miracle. And I am more aware of that, way more aware of that than I was before the first page of the book.
Yeah. 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 I know it. I know what you mean.
Yeah. So I don't know.
Yeah. Well, hey, let me ask you a few questions if you're good
Yes,
with it. I
please.
mean, it's been a wonderful conversation with you so far, man. You explain things so well and so calmly people to understand and grasp. I appreciate having you on, man. You're awesome. You're awesome.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah. Can you tell us like some of the really hardest things of being a caregiver were?
The hardest thing for me was that first year. Um,
Okay.
um, this is an emotional thing. This is like I went through that first year saying to myself, "You can do this. You can do this. You can do this." A very guy. I mean, women do it too, but it's this very classic. Like I can motor through this. I'm strong. So I wasn't getting enough sleep. I was holding down a full-time job, but I will say I was incredibly lucky with there too. It was more like it was a salaried job, but it was as if I were more like a consultant. No one reported to me. I didn't have a team that I had to manage, and I could do good chunks of my work from home or at off hours. That's huge. So I could
Yeah.
go with Lynn to the appointments. I could
Right.
take 4 hours in the middle of the day and go to an appointment, and it wasn't going to matter to my job. I just had to work into the evening or do whatever I needed to do to get things done.
Yeah.
So what suffered, of course, was sleep and exercise. Although luckily I had a job. I like riding a bike, and I actually was riding my bike to work. So there was some guaranteed physical movement, which I strongly recommend to everyone just in life.
Yes.
But anyway,
Yeah.
that first year, as I got more and more tired, we didn't know how long Lynn would live. And I started having these traitorous thoughts like, I don't know, this is so hard. Maybe it would be better if Lynn died sooner rather than later.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
I mean, we hadn't reached the point where where we got to the 2 or 3 good years that came
Mhm.
later. The first 2 years were very, very hard. A lot of medical stuff, operations that went wrong. You know, she almost died. Just massive amounts of energy and work involved, and no guarantee as to how long, what was going to happen, and what would come next.
Yeah.
And so that, and the other traitorous thought. So this thing had attacked her spine. It had attacked her body. Uh, the drugs had all kinds of side effects.
Oh,
So
yeah.
we could no longer have sex the way we used to.
Right.
I'm not saying we were never intimate. You find things that you can do, and we were very in love with each other, and we liked hugging, and stuff like that. But physical, sexual activity was pretty much off the table for that time,
Right.
and I really missed it.
Yeah.
And I was, totally faithful. I'm no issue there, but
Yeah.
I really missed it. So I'm
Right.
having these thoughts, and meanwhile, she is constantly, not or frequently, saying, "Wow, this is so hard on you, Tony. I'm so thankful that you're with me. I'm so thankful that my illness hasn't pushed you away, and that you're able to support me like this." And she said it in more strong terms than that.
Yeah.
Well, I'm thinking, oh my God, she had been my companion, my best friend, the person I shared everything with, and now I'm holding in these thoughts because I don't want her to start getting all feel guilty that her illness is pushing me away, when in fact, in certain ways, it was. Of course, it was.
Sure.
So when you say, what was the hardest thing? That year was horrible for me. And it all broke in a good way when I had that breakdown. I'd had a
Yeah.
series of physical accidents, hospitalization of my own from
Okay.
a bike accident, all of which I think were because I was pushing myself too hard. I wasn't taking care of myself. That bike accident happened because I was riding for exercise on weekends, and I go on country roads.
Okay.
And there was this huge thunderstorm that came up, as they do in the
Yeah.
Northeast in the
Yeah.
summer. And instead of taking shelter, I kept riding right through this thunderstorm. And I'm thinking, I can do this. You can do this, Tony. You can do this. And I could do it uphill. Then, sort of, the sky cleared, the sun like starting to come out in the distance, and I start going downhill, and I discover my brakes are completely wet.
Oh,
Useless. I pick up speed, pick up speed, pick up speed, and hit a bump over a bridge over an interstate near here. And I just go flying and I break multiple ribs and they have to take me to a trauma center and all this stuff. When any sane person would have said, this is nuts. You do not continue riding your bike when the lightning is coming down, the rain is coming down, the wind is coming like that, and people can't see you and you could get hit by a car at any time.
yeah,
I was doing that kind of thing because I just gotten in this mode of you can power forward, you can do this.
yeah.
When I finally did just fall apart a few days later, after we came back from something that had been hard for Lynn, I just sobbed and sobbed, and I started telling her how I felt. And I said, I can't keep doing this. I mean, it wasn't an intellectual thing. It was coming out of my gut. I can't keep doing this.
Yeah.
She was so supportive.
Wow.
She was so supportive.
Man.
And she said, no, no, no. And this all makes perfect sense. And she understood how I could have these kind of feelings and didn't say, you asshole, get the hell out of my life or anything like that.
Right.
No.
Yeah.
And in fact, so she had a therapist. She had been in therapy for some years. It was just part of her life. And she said, you should get a therapist. You need someone you can tell these things to other than me.
Yeah.
Someplace you can feel safe and share what you're going through. And I did. I went out. I found someone who took my insurance, and I started seeing him, and it was fantastic.
Good for you, man. Good for you. That's so good. That's such great advice. Yeah. I tell people, I see a counselor every 2 weeks, man. Still.
Yeah. Yeah.
And if it gets hairy, then I want to talk every week. And if I think I'm getting a little cocky, then I talk once a month. But I never stop talking.
Yeah.
Because if you don't, when you stop talking and you let it go too long and you have a bit of a moment, you're not ready because you haven't been doing the work along the way.
Yeah.
And then you poop your pants, so to speak, right? And and it's just dumb. You get cocky and you get arrogant and you think, oh, I'm good. You know what? You are. But you're not good in however long down the road, and you haven't done the work. You haven't built that foundation.
Yes.
And it'll get you. So go all the time. That's what I tell people, and that's what I do. Go all the time.
It's the relationship. You build a relationship over time.
Yes.
And in fact, so I knew going in when I was looking for a therapist that I liked, I actually said to him right up front, Lynn has terminal cancer.
Yep.
I need support now, but I also want to build a relationship because I'm going to need a lot of support later when she dies.
Yep.
And it played out exactly like that.
Yep. And did the first guy that you go to see, did it work with him? Was that it?
I found 3 people and I saw them each once, and they were willing to do this, just one-off, like an interview, like who do I click with? And I thought it would be a woman. I was sure I would be more comfortable talking to a woman. I'm not used to talking to guys about feelings.
Yeah.
But much to my surprise, I liked this guy a lot. I just started talking to him and I felt so comfortable with him.
Good for you, man.
It's all about chemistry.
It is, isn't it? You know what? I mean, when I had a business, right? And that was kind of our thing. We had an issue with something at work. Let's see, like we needed the wall painted. 3 quotes. 3 quotes. Right? Yeah. And usually out of the 3, you could pick a good one and you could get a good one. But that was kind of always our rule, and sometimes like some of it's like none of those were good. You go 4 or 5, like sometimes, right? Or man, the first or second, you're like, wow, this is really good. But you always do the 3. Yeah. And then you got some comparison to do things to. And I think that's great advice too, man. I think that's wonderful that, you don't always hit it the first time, right? You don't hit it. You don't hit it the first time. And finding a counselor is just like finding a good painter or a good yard guy or anybody else. You have to just, you go to Baskin Robbins, man, and you take a sample and you have a taste. Yeah. And you like it or you don't. And hey, you know what? It's your life. And you get to choose what you want. Because guess what? You're the boss because you're paying for it. And hey, It's no offense, right? It's no problem. It's no problem. If
Mhm.
someone has a problem with it, it's probably not the right set. It's not the right
Well,
connection.
exactly,
You know?
exactly.
Yeah. Yeah.
And certainly the 3 people I approached were all totally cool with it and thought it was a good idea because they're gonna be in the relationship too.
Yeah.
You're
Right.
looking for someone that you can share with and be emotionally supported and grow a little. It's all really it's really foundational stuff. So,
Yeah, man. Golly, man, you have given so much great advice about tonight, and it's been such a wonderful conversation with you, man. Um, is there anything that you would like to share that we haven't talked about or that we haven't kind of touched on with the book or
yeah.
anything?
So I just wanna say the reason I wrote Carrying the Tiger, the reason I converted it into a book was in order to give people a view of the messy reality of what's involved in all of these things that I went through.
Yeah,
The like some of which I talked about here, the
yeah,
emotions, the messy emotions. There's messy physical stuff too. It's just a whole package where you're thrown in the deep end and you and all these things happen that you could feel embarrassed about, that you
yep,
could hold back about, where your own feelings will hold you back, and this sense that, oh my God, I'm going through stuff no one else has gone through. This is worse for me than for anyone else, or this is just a horrible. I can't ever tell anyone. I chose to put everything I could think of into the book
yep,
and also try to make it a compelling story because actually what happened in real life was pretty damn interesting. There's twists
yeah,
and turns I haven't even mentioned on this. I'll let people read the
yeah,
book for
yeah, yeah.
themselves and find out
Awesome.
where the joy came from. But the
Right.
the thing I want to say to
Yeah,
anyone
yeah,
who is going through one of this is that all of that messy stuff that you're feeling, all of the things that you think might be embarrassing, this is normal. It's
mm,
completely normal.
yep,
Everyone else is going who goes through these kind of difficult situations, whether it's the living with cancer or the grief and trying to come out of grief afterwards and how that turns your world upside down. Everyone else is going through their version of this stuff.
yep.
And the problem in our society is we treat it as if you should be embarrassed about it.
Yes.
So I wrote the book specifically so that you could read what happened to Lynn and to me and go, wow, that was hard. That was messy. And look, they made it through.
Yep.
Yeah, Lynn died. This is human life. We all die. But she
Yeah.
had a wonderful few years before she died
Right.
because of what we managed to pull off together when
Yeah.
living with cancer. And
Yeah.
yeah, I went through deep, horrible, disorienting grief, as so many people do. But then I started to climb out of it and I write about the kinds of things, just the little things day to day, what kind of worked and what didn't. But I don't want to say that these are like prescriptions. Like I'm not writing a there are books out there where people say this is how you get through grief.
Right.
That's not what my book is about. What
Yeah.
my book is about is this is what it feels like to be in grief, and this
Yep.
is what Tony did that
Right.
helped him get out of it.
Right, man. Yep, and take what you can from those things and maybe apply them to your life and apply them to and take
Exactly.
the things that works and could work for you.
Yes.
And
Your image just froze for me again.
it's the same and no things are the same. And so you better than anyone else and you hear something you go, "Oh, I like a little bit of that." Well, then take it. It's
Yes,
there for you. Take it, it's there for
exactly.
you and apply it to you the way it needs to work for you.
Yeah.
And that's
That
how
is
you find a winning formula, I think.
and that's what I'm trying to accomplish with Carrying the Tiger.
Yeah, man.
Exactly.
Yeah. How did you come up with that title? That's interesting. It's a very interesting title.
That title comes from an email that a friend wrote to Lynn about a month in. And again, a direct result of all these Caring Bridge posts and things that she even knew what was going on.
Yeah.
And she said basically, in our Tai Chi group, and I should say Lynn and I didn't know anything about Tai Chi. In
Okay.
our Tai Chi group, We carry tigers for friends who are going through difficult circumstances. The 3 motions, Tai Chi motions of bending low, picking up the tiger, and putting it on a hilltop far away,
Yeah.
make that challenge so much less threatening, make the tiger so much less threatening. And Lynn wrote back to her friend and said, thank you so much. Please carry some tigers for me. And also, could you teach me how to carry a tiger?
Oh, okay. Okay.
And that is it. That's, learning to face our challenges and come through them. And
Yep.
there were 3 tigers. I mean, I think of the book as 3 parts: the living with cancer, dying with grace. That's another tiger.
Whoa.
And
Yeah.
then finding joy while grieving, a huge
Yeah,
tiger.
man. Yeah.
And in each
Yeah.
case, I feel blessed that, my friends and the things that happened and Lynn helped us carry these tigers.
Man. Hey, man. I mean, you're an awesome guy, man. You're a great speaker. You articulate things so well. I'm very honored to have you on the Conquerors crew and everything. Hey, but we're kind of winding down. Your website, how to get in contact with you.
Sure.
Any final words? You got the floor. Anything you'd like to say? Yeah.
Well, no, I want people to know where to find the book and how to reach out to me if they want to. Because I should say, I am available for conversation, for grief support conversation. If there's someone who's grieving, who feels or who knows someone who's grieving and is trying to support someone who's grieving, if you think that it would be helpful to talk to me about this, you can reach out to me. And the way you do that is you go to my website, which is TonyStewartAuthor.com. And you fill in the contact form, and that'll send me an email, and I'll get back to you, and we will connect.
Perfect.
And of course, you can read all kinds of stuff. You can learn all about me and the book and the places I've spoken like this and all kinds of things on TonyStewartAuthor.com. The book itself is available pretty much everywhere, and certainly it's all over Amazon. And it's available in print. It's available as an ebook, and it's available in an audiobook narrated by me.
Yeah.
So if you want to get Carrying the Tiger, you just go to Amazon and you search for Carrying the Tiger. And, it's a unique enough title that it comes up right away.
Yeah, it is. It is. Yeah. I've got the audiobook. So.
Oh, good.
Yeah, I got it. I'm going to be listening to it when I get some time. Yeah. It's just been a crazy week with one of my cancer patients that I'm dealing with. Yeah. It's tough, man. It's a tough deal to stage 4 liver cancer. So.
That is a hard one. That's
yeah,
a really hard
and they're all hard. They're all hard.
Yeah.
I'm not discounting any of them, and so we know that.
Yeah. And anytime you discover that your body is turning on you, and that if you don't stop this thing, it will keep growing and kill you, that's a hard place to be. Even if they tell you, "Oh, we caught it early. We're just going to do this little procedure, and you'll probably be fine." Your life has changed.
Yep, that's right, man. That's right. And when you hear those words, it's like nothing else, right?
Yeah.
It is. It is.
Yeah.
Well, I'll give you the final word if you'd like to say anything, and then I always kind of take us out with a little thing that I say. And do you have anything else you want to share, Tony?
Not really. I think we covered all of the really important stuff that I wanted to say. There's always more. Obviously, yeah. I hope that people listening will get hold of Carrying the Tiger and read it. But if you don't, I hope that you've found something useful in this conversation.
Thank you, sir. And hey, stay on for a moment right after we go off, okay? If you don't mind, please.
Sure thing.
All right, guys. Hey, that's it for our episode, and I want to let you all know, God bless you all. Godspeed to you, and never forget that grit don't quit. We're out.